So I asked her, have you really felt your feelings? Have you allowed yourself to sit in this incredible discomfort and just experience what you're feeling? The feelings of neglect and abandonment, sadness, fear. You let yourself just feel all of that without thinking, well, they were hurt too, without justifying other people's intentions or actions or dismissals, without justifying somebody else's actions, response, their emotions, their motives, without dismissing yourself, your experience. Have you come to it from the perspective of the hurt child? Without the tools or wisdom that you now have you looked at it without the lens of your responsible adult self who should know better? Have you considered that your emotions are important? And she said, I don't see the point in that. We are energetic beings. We have a divine source, and our feelings are a barometer. They are a compass. They are important. We are electrostatic beings. We are always in motion, always in motion. We are moving in the directions of our feelings. The only way to move through past, and it's a bit of a triggery word for people, past trauma, whatever it might be, little t trauma, big T trauma, which is a matter of perspective. Side note, please know that this perspective was your hurt inner child. Was the hurt child. They weren't inner at the time. Like they were you were you when you were you, from the perspective you did have at the time that things did happen when you were a child and you had no tools to deal with it. You didn't really maybe have anyone to talk to about it who wouldn't dismiss you or tell you to have a stiff upper lip, or that, there are people in the world who have it worse than you, and what you're doing right now, you're feeling your feelings is too much for me. People, yes. Wounded people wound people, yes. And you own your emotions, your feelings, your perspective. And my friend, no matter how painful it is, the only way through the healing process is through the healing process. It's the only way. It's a process. And if we don't process stuff, it gets stuck. We are energy beings, and emotion is energy in motion. So if we don't feel it, if we're like, I don't deserve to feel that, I'm selfish to feel that, I'm worried about what other people will think, honestly, have you felt your feelings without feeling guilty about feeling those feelings or having those feelings? Have you done it without the fear of some kind of consequence, or feelings of regret or embarrassment? Even when you're alone, I experienced this recently. I had a massive explosion. My birthday was coming. I was like, I could hardly even handle it. Like I thought I literally was going to go insane. And I was looking for phone numbers to call. I called a couple friends and they didn't answer. And I tried to text And the text wouldn't send, and I really wish I hadn't tried harder to send it, because sometimes you ask for help of the person your upset is about, and that, well, it didn't go well. But that is another, that's an aside, that's another video for another time. What we can really see for ourselves is an incredible opportunity. Unrooting deeply, deeply rooted wounds and feeling those feelings is incredibly painful sometimes. Honestly, sometimes it's surprisingly not. But this is an opportunity to actually release what needs to be released, rather than just, logically working on something, seeing it in your hands, sort of rolling it around in your mind or your mouth or whatever, however it is that we process things. You can see it with images or hear it with words or whatever it is, and then justify it and, see things almost too much from another person's perspective. And then we negate our progress. We just find another place to put it where it feels less noticeable or less concerning or less important. And emotions that get stuck can manifest in disease, difficulties, future explosions. This is your healing process. And some of the emotions and feelings and experiences that you have dismissed or pushed down or negated for days, months, weeks, years, sometimes decades, you don't know how they have been impacting you. And maybe it's just a willingness to imagine the possibility of being without them, of being dragged into the unfinished business of the past over and over again in ways that you may or may not even notice. What freedom! What freedom to be able to just feel your feelings, acknowledge yourself, and move on. It's more complicated when it's childhood experiences and wounds and things that some people don't even remember. Like, some things can be as small as, something that you just wouldn't even notice, or as big as blocking it out. When explosions happen, there is something to look at and move towards. Move towards the discomfort. Sit in it. It's scary. I recommend having a friend to call if it gets too scary. I recommend actually letting somebody know that you're really wanting to work through something, and maybe having, as my shaman healer and dear friend said to me, it's almost like giving birth. It can help to have a doula, someone to sit with you, not physically, but even energetically, and hold sacred space and know what you're going through, so that if it gets too much and it gets too scary, you can call. You can debrief afterwards if you want to. You can write it down. You can burn it. You can do whatever. You don't need to be alone in this. You don't need to be a lone wolf. I'm guilty of that. Guilty. That's an interesting word to use right now. And breaking that habit, that's a hard one. That's a really hard one for me. I've lived in regret for so long. It's like down at the very bottom of the emotional scale. It's like at the bottom. And I didn't realize that. I thought I was all like positive, and I'm like moving up, and I'm evolving and expanding, and then I'm living in regret, and I'm embarrassed about my own feelings about something that came up for me that was like really, 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 really real. Embarrassed. I was by myself. It's worth the discomfort and the focus. Our children that we were are always with us. Like when you think about it, whose eyes are you looking at? When you were 5 and you were looking in the mirror, whose eyes were they? Who was inside looking out when you were 8, when you were 12, when you were 14.75, almost 15, 22? Who was looking out through those eyes, and whose eyes were they? Every single moment of your life is still with you. We can reach backwards and heal that. And it's a very important step for the freedom of learning who you really are. You imagine who you are without all that shit, that baggage, the big sack of whatever, goo? You deserve to be free. You deserve to feel your feelings. You deserve to move through. You deserve to transform. You are worthy. Take care of you. You are a worthy, loved child of God. No one can take that away from you. You are sovereign. You are autonomous. You are a loved child of your divine creator. Please let me know how you're doing in the comments. I'm here for you.